big news, another 2,000 or so locations to go. So it did kind of move the goalpost for me. I was like, 805 years. I still think that's a lofty goal in a good way.
Right.
But man, to have a runway of 2,000 is pretty awesome. And that's a lot of lives changed. So when you look at 11,000 plus members we have now, it's pretty cool.
And that's just in this country.
Suzanne, Rob, what's up?
Hey.
How are you?
Oh, I'm just living the dream.
How are you? Yeah, you're on the public speaking circuit yet?
Well, I made my debut at conference.
That's what I'm saying. You did great. I figured you might take the show on the road.
It was fun. No, I don't have time for that.
You really do not. You got that right. Oh, my God.
We are busy, but it's all good stuff.
Well, I'm excited about what we're talking about, but dad jokes first.
Okay.
What you got?
What do you call fake spaghetti?
I don't know.
An impasta.
Oh, God. What are you from, New York? So,
Long Island.
Long Island. Oh my God. A carrot got in a car accident, and when his family got to the hospital, the doctor came out and he goes, "I have good news and I have bad news. The good news is he's going to make it. The bad news is he's going to be a vegetable the rest of his life." That's so dumb.
That is bad news.
All right, now that the serious business is out of the way, let's get down to it. So we have great news for current franchisees and for future franchisees, which is we remapped with our software the lower 48, which is where we're doing our business these days for franchising.
That's right.
And we identified some new territories, and there's new widgets and new updated technology and tools that we can use to remap. And the software is updated, I believe, every 6 months. Is that correct?
The demographics are updated every 6 months in January and July. But that just updates the demographics of the territories we've already mapped.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. So to remap that often is probably pointless. To do it annually is about as often as you would need to. Is that, do you agree?
We haven't remapped since 2023. And I think before that it was 2019, which is before we even launched the franchise. So we initially mapped the 150 top MSAs in the country. And that produced, 900, I think, or so, plus the territories that we had already sold. So that seemed like a long enough runway in every state in the union except for North Dakota and Hawaii, because we're not registered there anyway.
Right.
So that gave us an ample runway to start our friend Dev, right?
Yep.
So in 2023, we remapped, but we still just kind of remapped that top 150 MSAs and identified a few more. And the only reason we did that is because we had left the software system when we partnered up with Remapping and went with their software system, which turned out to be not as great as the one that we had.
So we went back.
And in 2023, we kind of just remapped like we had previously. We still have plenty of runway. So what happened was within this last year, we were having people enter the sales process looking for territories in their smaller towns, which we didn't have anything mapped at those.
Yeah, because we only chose the 150 majors.
Correct.
Right?
So just to give you an example, it was like Boise, Idaho was one of them. And so our sales team would call the mapping specialist and say, "Hey, can you look at the Boise area and see if there's anything that would work for an Alloy?" And sure enough, there were great territories. And this was not an unusual thing that started happening. And last year, we mapped like 40 new territories.
And awarded them.
And
a
awarded
couple of them are in our top 5 performers. So it's not like we just said, "Oh, okay, we want to award these, so we'll let you go in there. We're not sure." It's
no,
they are top performers.
Outstanding
So
territories.
that was the evidence. And so that was the why, is like we were seeing empirical evidence that would indicate that there's more than we had.
Yeah.
And there are some new tools, and we also have learned more about our amplifiers and detractors, and where not to go, where to go.
Yep.
And so we ran our demographics again, and this time the entire lower 48, not just the 150 major MSAs.
Correct.
Is that correct?
The entire 48, lower 48. And so we did that in, we ran 2 sample states, Texas and Georgia.
Right.
Because we have a bunch there and we were familiar with those areas. And so we did the 2 sample states and identified like a couple hundred just in Georgia and Texas. So we knew there was going to be a lot more. We ran the whole thing. Once we kind of tweaked our data points, we tweaked our criteria, kind of made it a little bit more strict, if you will, kind of upped our median household income a little bit, and wanted to make sure we had at least 1 or more amplifiers. And those are just other businesses, other premium businesses where people who would be more likely to be a member at Alloy would also frequent these other businesses.
Our customer avatar partakes in these other products and services. And we know that because we've spent time and money on our archetype to figure out exactly who they are. And then there's other amplifiers.
Correct.
That's what that means. So.
Correct. And it also tells us that there is retail space, that this is not just residential. There are these commercial retail spaces out there as well in the territory. So we ran it in early September, and we came out with a whole bunch of more territories.
Yeah. Well, it makes sense because first of all, there were areas that we had yet to map. We only did the major 150.
Correct.
So we were going into areas that we hadn't gone into. Plus, we had some more updated data and criteria to go into those areas. So what were the results before and after?
Before, we had identified about 900 locations, just looking at the top 150 MSAs. Afterwards, we identified over 2,000.
And that includes the 430 or so that we've already awarded.
So that are sold, or that are on hold because they're going to be developing them according to their development schedule.
Someone has purchased those.
Somebody has purchased those. Now, we've only awarded 365, but we've got people in the sales process. Like we had a big discovery day last week.
Right, you hold them for a minute.
We hold them. Yeah. So in addition to the 430 that were kind of like either on hold or already sold, we identified another 1,900.
Oh, so it's in addition to the 400, there's another 1,900. So it really puts it like 2,300.
Right.
Well, 2,000's, a ridiculously ambitious goal. But
It is. I'll be long gone.
Yeah, exactly. We'll be dead. We won't. We're moving at a pretty good clip. But yeah. Well, so in the process, because you were sort of running lead on the project, is there anything interesting that you discovered? I was surprised by the additional territories. But was there anything else that you discovered?
So there are other territories that we labeled as B territories, which is not part of this number, that didn't have amplifiers. Now, if and when we exhausted the territories, the A territories that we've already identified, presumably we could take a look at those too. So it's interesting, and it speaks to the growth and development of a lot of the areas that an Alloy would go into. So it's kind of cool.
I think of similar businesses, and one of them is, a better brand in the fitness space, because fitness can be fly by night and, single modalities, and we talk about all the things, but one of the brands that does well is Club Pilates, which is one of the premier Pilates brands. What's interesting about them is they have a very similar customer avatar. So 55-year-old women is their target. Well, that's half of our target, if you will, or actually 60%, or 40% men, right? So we open it up to, it just tends to attract more than just women. Our brand does.
Yes.
But it's a good sign that the one brand that is doing the best targets a similar avatar.
Right.
Well, I can recall a few years ago, I think they were sitting at like 1,300 locations for the brand. And then they came back and did a remapping and did some strategic work and went back to market with another 400 or 500, which a lot of franchisees are the ones that purchase those, existing franchisees.
Makes sense.
But they also sold to some unique, brand new franchisees to their brand. So I don't know. I think it's a good thing. And we've seen other mature brands do it. So I think it's really smart.
Yeah.
Well, it's a great opportunity for existing franchisees to to look at their own territories again. Because I know we just wrapped up conference a few weeks ago, and I had a lot of people come to me and say, "Hey, I'm going to buy some more territories." So I was like, "Okay, great. Well, we're remapping, so we're going to have some things to look at, right? And it's going to be more accurate with more amplifiers and all the other data that we've collected. So probably better territories." And then obviously for new franchisees coming in, it's just more runway all the way around.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to play devil's advocate for a second. So what would you say to me if I was an existing franchisee or I was looking to get into alloy and I was like, oh, well, 2,000 sounds like a lot. Are you going to put us, across the street from each other? I don't want to cannibalize my other alloy neighbors or certainly have them cannibalize me.
Right. And I've got that question before. And the answer to that is, well, we wouldn't allow you or another franchisee to put an alloy right across the street. You've got, when you sign a lease, or actually when you sign an LOI, we drop a pin and we give you your protected radius, which is basically like a circle. And typically the radius is 2 miles. But sometimes it could be a little bit more if it's like in a Billings, Montana. Sometimes it could be less if it's in a densely populated like Charlotte. A couple of our alloys there are closer than, they're like 1.76 miles apart. But you get your protected radius and you're guaranteed that you're going to have a population of 30,000.
Right.
So that's what the FDD says.
30,000. This is the way I explain it. Correct me if I'm wrong. I always describe it as like 30,000, a concentration of 30,000 people that has a target-rich environment for our customer avatar.
Correct.
Is that right?
Yes.
So in a brand where you only need 130 to 150, right? I would say that is plenty of people. And we are a retention play. And as our brand gets more mature and we keep doubling down on all the customer service strategies that we have, and we get better at retention, it will become even less impactful, to have the 30,000. You don't need anywhere near that because you shouldn't be churning out a lot of people anyway. So, and I'm air quoting, like, you're not going to burn the market, right? Like blow through 30,000 people. Like, everybody's worked out there. It's like, I've heard people say that in not in our brand, but in the past when I'd be consulting and they're like, well, everybody already knows we're here. I'm like, I'll bet you there's people that live across the street from your gym that don't know you're here. And the reason is they don't see it until they're ready to see it. Right. It's like, they haven't seen you so many times and now just decided not to come in. They just aren't ready for a personal trainer yet. That's what the thing is. So yeah, exactly. And then I've had the same question about marketing, which I'll just answer that, which is, listen, are my marketing dollars going to be spent to fill up another alloy? And look, you're going to have a stray here and there, but look, the digital marketing companies that we work with, they do geo-fence your area and they know our target area. The only times we've had issues in the past is if a marketing company didn't do that, but those companies aren't with us anymore.
Correct.
Where they would to artificially drive down cost per lead and get more lead volume, they would expand the area, and then we would see people going into other alloys, and then we immediately, when finding out, went to that company and slapped them on the hand, and then eventually took them out of our vendor suite.
Correct.
So that's not what we're here to do. And and the other companies that we work with now, they do a much better job, and they keep it within those confines. Now, again, if somebody is passing through your area and it grabs their phone, and then they go home and they live near another alloy, could it happen? Sure. But does it happen en masse? No.
And it happens very occasionally. And honestly, it happened at Haynesbridge, our corporate store, where somebody from the Windward store.
Well, that was part of that's part of the situation I was telling you about. Though.
Correct. Well, we found out that the marketing company had expanded and slapped their hand. But even when that did happen, when the person called us and they should have, or they called Windward, they said, there's one way closer to your house. So, it's kind of almost a courtesy. And here's the thing. That if a member is going to come into your gym and it's 5 miles away because they got the wrong lead, right?
It takes 10 extra minutes. They're probably not going to do it.
They're not going to stay. And they're going to find out that there is an alloy that's much closer to their house. All you have to do is go on the website and type in your zip code and it will show you the one that's closest.
Yeah, it's really funny you say that because obviously we've been open since 92. Shocker, I wasn't big on collecting that data in 92 when I was wearing muscle pants and stuff. But I think at some point, if you asked me maybe 10 years down the road, I was like, yeah, man, people drive from all over the city to come to us because we're so unique. And then when the technology came out to actually run demographics historically, I took every person that had ever been in our gym and dumped them into the database.
Yep.
And it turns out that it was like 98 point something % would not drive more than 2 miles to get here.
Right.
And I had been saying to myself, I was thinking of the outliers that drive from Buckhead or halfway across town. You know, they drive 10 miles or
there was a lady that
11 miles.
moved up to Jasper, and she would drive in two times a week from Jasper to
like an hour plus.
Hour and a half.
Right. Now, if she might have had other business or grandkids there, I don't know. But absolutely not. You're gonna have a few outliers, but like I was shocked. I'd already been in business for 15 years or so at that point, and I was like, wow, I thought I was special. But guess what? If I'm not convenient, it doesn't matter. So keep that in mind. Marketing's going to put a net around it. We're going to give you your protected area. It's going to be 30,000, whatever radius that gives you. That's plenty of people to keep your gym full forever.
Definitely.
And we have plenty of examples of clubs here in Atlanta, and they're 1.75 miles apart because it's very populated. And I'll tell you, driving from one to the other with traffic can be like 15, 20 minutes. I was going
to say there are other things that are kind of like natural or man-made barriers that
rivers, highways.
The highway. Like we have West Roswell was probably about 3 miles from here. But nobody goes across 400.
Yeah.
Nobody goes across 400.
Right.
Because crossing 400 on Holcomb Bridge is a nightmare. And Holcomb Bridge is a nightmare anyway. So, like, I have friends that live over in West Roswell, and I live in East Roswell, and we make fun of each other because, like, we don't ever, you would
other
never.
Side of the country.
Right. It's kind of like the other side of the tracks or whatever.
Right.
So that's just a thing. And we see that often. So I don't know. I think it's not going to be a big problem. And everybody just needs to relax. There's an abundance.
Well, listen, this isn't like a movement of people being upset. I just wanted to ask the question because it's sort of the elephant in the room. It's like, what happens if this happens? And I can understand the question. Maybe if I already had a location, I certainly don't want somebody across the street. If I'm buying into one, I don't want people all over the top of me. I want to make sure I have plenty of runway to grow my business. And the fact is you do. Plus, what we didn't even mention in the earlier conversation is if, let's say you do multiple locations, you hold on to your search areas until all of your locations are developed.
The last lease is signed, then we release.
What that means is we're very liberal with the search areas so that you can find real estate and get open, because that's also how we succeed and help more people. So we want you to do that quickly, with integrity, as quickly as you possibly can. While you're developing those 3 territories, let's say it's 3 years or 2.5 years, whatever that time frame ends up being.
Yeah.
You keep all of those search areas for that whole time. So no one can even look in any of those areas. So you're plenty protected during your real estate process. No one's going to end up in your backyard. And once you get open and you develop your 3rd territory, yes, we're dropping a pin in the map and giving you 30,000.
For sure. Protection. And we've had franchisees be able to, there's been development in their, if they have a 3 territory search area, there's been development within their search area while they're getting their first 3 open. They end up buying another one and putting a 4th one somewhere in there.
And from what I understand, just talking to other franchisors, that's not uncommon.
Right.
It just adding one would speak to how large I think our search areas are. And I don't think they're not too large. We're not because that can hurt you as well if you give away too much territory.
Right.
So it's a fine line. Like, we want to get a bunch open. We want to help a bunch of people. We want current franchisees to have opportunities to open more locations. And we want, new franchisees coming on board to have the chance to become entrepreneurs and change lives as well. And so it's a balancing act between all right, let's be efficient. Let's get them close together, but let's not have them cannibalize each other. And I feel like that's exactly what we're doing.
Yeah, I think so too.
Cool. Well, that's the message. So anyway, big news. Another 2,000 or so locations to go. So it did kind of move the goalpost for me. I was like, 805 years. I still think that's a lofty goal in a good way.
Right.
But man, to have a runway of 2,000 is pretty awesome. And that's a lot of lives changed. So when you look at 11,000 plus members we have now, it's pretty cool.
And that's just in this country. And then.
Yeah. And we've already had opportunities, by the way.
Right.
We won't talk to any details, but we have some contacts in other countries that have approached us about Alloy. And I just want you guys to know that we've said no, so we can focus on it.
That's right. And I'm really glad we said no. That was a good idea.
Yeah, agreed. So, sure, is that on the horizon? Yes, but not anytime soon. We've got clearly too much runway here in the lower 48 to get focused on anything else.
We got a lot of work to do here.
Got a lot of work to do here. All right, well, thanks for the details.
Okay, you're welcome.
All right, cheers.
All right, cheers.